This is Axis and Allies on the Tool Less channel playing 1942 2nd edition with a house rule called Against America. Video number 4 in this series. There won't be video number 5. There is 8 turns for which the coalition forces of the UK, Germany, Soviet Union and Japan get to take 2 American cities, as in Washington and San Francisco, and Brazil before the end of the 8th turn. The American chance of winning this game, which was keeping hold of their 2 cities and grabbing any 3 enemy territories, has gone. They cannot achieve that now. The only chance that America have of taking anything from this game is by keeping hold of Brazil. If they can stop the coalition from grabbing Brazil, then it will be a draw. But as there's 2 rounds to go, there's Brits on the doorstep, there's Brits coming in, there's Germans coming in. We don't think America can do that. The coalition haven't yet taken the 2nd city over there in San Francisco. It's on the cards. It may take place in turn number 7. Indeed, we think it's going to take place in turn number 7. The chances of this amount of American infantry holding back this German air wing and these tanks, and then withstanding a battle following up from the Japanese coming down from Western Canada, is pretty slim. If they do withstand that, then obviously an amount of German reinforcements will be able to come through and finish them off on turn number 8. But we think turn number 7 is probably going to be the end of the game. To that end, the Soviets have already had their turn, Soviets starting off the 1942 round. They have done nothing more than loading units down from Eastern Canada into central United States and moved some bombers over which they bought on the previous turn, and bought some more bombers should they need it in turn number 8. We're not even going to get there, we don't think. So we are now on to the German turn. Sometimes this game throws up some magical numbers, and this is one of those occasions where it happened. The industrial complex in Eastern America got bombed by this very German wing. 5 bombers went in there and did 24 damage to it. Obviously that kind of damage being done to the factory was very hard to come back from as far as the Americans were concerned, and when Germany got into the eastern United States, it took their economy away with it entirely. The Germans could actually now take the money which they grabbed from taking that state and pay off 24 IPCs of factory damage. Of the remaining money in the Bundesbank, they have 72 IPCs, enough to buy themselves 12 tanks. As it turned out, in my box of bits down here, I only had 12 tanks. You see, the bay's empty. So somehow it all fell into place absolutely beautifully. We will get those reinforcements onto the board at the end of this round, but first we will have this air wing coming over from Eastern United States, having a bash at these Americans in Western United States, and just 3 tanks can reach them. We may be sacrificing all those bombers for the chance of glory for these tanks staying alive and getting in there. We'll have to see how the dice roll goes, but I think it's a long stretch to imagine that it's going to be these 3 tanks and the Germans that can capture Western United States, and grab the glory for that part of the board on this turn. It's probably going to be Japan coming down from Western Canada that does that later on. Let's get those German units and American units on the board and see how it rolls out. Here is how it looks on the battle board. No cheap options for the German forces. 5 bombers, 4 fighters and 3 tanks versus a couple of anti-aircraft that will get their fire first, plus a tank, plus an artillery unit and 14 infantry. The artillery unit, what's it doing there? It was part of a failed invasion plan of islands that didn't go through earlier on in the game. Let's roll the anti-aircraft guns. They have 6 at 1, trying to hit this German wing. And they've scored 1 hit. That's, I think, first time they've hit anything in this game. Let's take one of the German fighters off and then roll the catastrophic damage the Germans are going to hope to inflict upon the American forces. There will be 5 at 4. there will be 3 fighters that are left and 3 tanks. We're looking at 4s and 3s to see how much of a massive damage they can do first up, to decide whether they would take damage themselves on their planes or on their tanks. Germany rolling in. That looks a little bit middly, which is fine by me because the dice roll has been quite extraordinary most of this game. These are at 4s, and I can see 4 hits, and at 3s there's 2 more hits. Actually, it's a bit stronger than I first thought it was going to be. That's 5 off of the American forces straight away. We would take a stack of 5 infantry, move them to the casualty strip, which would leave 9 infantry left there for America. I think they may be taking some damage on their anti-aircraft guns this time round, America. Though Japan do have 3 bombers themselves. Sorry, talking in this, pointing in a different direction. Japan do have 3 bombers themselves, which can come in for their follow-up attack from Western Canada into US should this one fail. Or not be complete. Not a fail, it won't be complete. So for America, they have 1 tank rolling in at 3. They have 14 infantry plus an artillery. That's 15 dice. We'll do the tank on its own. That's scored 1 hit. That's we keep that as a register of 1. We now need 15 dice for the remaining attack of infantry artillery that American can muster. They've scored just 1 hit there. This rings a few bells from a previous attack of 15 dice. 1 hit there, that's 2 more hits. 3, 4. You've got to say, America have underrolled consistently throughout this game. But having done 4 hits, we will be getting into this air wing quite heavily. So I think that it really stops Germany from thinking about getting through this time round into Western United States. So their take of those 4 hits, 1, 2, 3 and 1 on the fighter, which leaves 2 in there, if I get my fingers not fumbling. It doesn't make any sense economically for Germany to continue on with this attack, but they might as well do that to make the job easier for Japan following up later on in the round. So they would take 5 bombers and 2 fighters, 4s and 3s, and have scored 4 hits again. 1, 2, 3, 4. America this time will take 2 on the anti-aircraft gun and 2 more on infantry. So America's reply, let me just grab some chips out of the way. America's reply will be 1 tank at 3, missing. It has 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at 2 for the infantry artillery that are remaining in there. Mixture of black and red dice. And I see a hatful there. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits now on the German forces. We'll take 2 fighters out of the equation and 2 bombers. It still leaves 3 massive bombardments that the Germans can do. And, well, we are trying to get this done in this round. There's no reason to hold back at all, apart from those poor German pilots that are going to be sacrificing themselves right and royally for the occasion. There'll be 3 going in at 4s and scoring 3 hits. Wow. 1, 2, 3. In defence from that, we have the tank at 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the tank at 3 scores a hit, and then 8 more dice we'll use 4 and 4. Why not indeed? All at 2s, looking for 3 hits, and there is 3 hits. Even that's a cocky dice there. 1, 2, 3. That is the German bombers finalised in there. These units will go back into Western United States, and we will be shuffling some German units around this board, bringing them down and closer to the action of Brazil, where we're going to leave that to the British Army to drop into there and finish it off on turn number 7. They would hope. Now on with the UK forces, and so confident are we that the UK can capture Brazil and Japan can capture the Western United States that we're not even going to bother with the purchases. We're going to do this and get it over and done with and end this game for sure. The UK are going to move these units on this boat into Wake Island and attack that just for the hell of it. The main battle is going to be these units here going into Brazil, couple of fighters, couple of infantry, plus this fleet from up here. This can come down into this sea zone, not even bother at all, making its diversion to the Gulf of Mexico in case something happened later on. It's not going to happen. It's a done deal. I shall get that mess up onto the battle board and see you there. Okay, before this battle, let's just do that little one down in Wake Island between 2 Brits at 2 and 2 Americans at 2. Just see what happens there for the fun of it. We roll them both together. The Brits can be black dice, the Americans can be red dice. All hitting on the same numbers. Or missing on the same numbers in this case. Let's try that one again. Come on, boys. Get involved in the action, and the Americans have both scored hits. The Brits have been knocked out of their invasion of Wake Island, so those guys there can retire into a life of luxury in Wake Island for the end of this game. Back to this battle now, the proper one, the big one, capturing Brazil. The UK do have a bombardment with a battleship and 2 cruisers. Couple of fighters going in there, 8 infantry artillery and 2 naked infantry versus just 5 American defensive pieces plus a plane and anti-aircraft gun. Let's roll the anti-aircraft gun first of all. They roll in at 1s in this version. They can get a shot each against each of the British planes, and they can both miss. Anti-aircraft has been very poor throughout the whole of this game. Let's roll now the British attack with 1 battleship and 2 cruisers, 4s and 3s for its bombardments, and just 1 hit, but 1's enough. We're chipping away. We take that guy off the battle board and put him into the casualty strip of Ukraine. We now have these can get moved back to the sea zone, so we don't get the ships in the way. Get them in there. We have 2 fighters at 3 and 8 at 2 for the infantry artillery. 2 fighters at 3 going in first, both missing. 8 at 2, that'll be 6 red and 2 black dice. All at 2s, and scoring 2 hits. That's 2 more from the American forces going into the casualty strip of Ukraine, and now 2 naked British infantry running in there at 1s, and one of them scores a hit. Wow. Okay, in response, we have the 4 infantry in the casualty zone, plus an artillery makes 5, plus 1 at 4 for the fighter. So 1 at 4, plus 5 red dice at 2s. 3 hits. That's the fighter. That is the 2 infantry or artilleries that are there. So 3 hits off the Brits. That's 2 naked infantry, plus 1 more infantry with his artillery support. Those Americans are lost over there in the background. You can't see me doing that. Now for the Brits again. In fact, obviously, America could take one of those on the anti-aircraft gun. What am I doing? We can keep one of those guys alive. We have, for the Brits, 2 fighters at 3 and then 7 guys at 2s. So 2 for the fighters, they score 1 hit, and then 7 guys at 2, that's 6 plus 1, all at 2s, looking for 2 hits now to finish off the Americans there, and they've only just scored 2 hits there. That would be the artillery and the fighter going into the casualty zone over there. To finish this off for America's their reply in Brazil, they will have the 1 fighter at 4, infantry artillery at 2, and scoring just 1 hit, so 1 more Brit goes from there. Those guys get into Brazil along with their artillery units, he says, fumbling away. We just slightly rebuild this in a half-tidy fashion. The fighter planes go back onto there, or get thrown around somewhere, and the UK gain Brazil. I'm not going to bother doing too much more tidying up here. The next battle will be Japan from Western Canada up here, sweeping down into the Western United States. When that is done, that satisfies the win conditions for the coalition of grabbing 3 places, Western, Eastern and Brazil, and holding their capitals themselves. I wouldn't actually mind Japan failing, just so we could roll this this German tank division in next turn round, but we can't have everything. It would have been fun, but it looks spectacular anyway. Let me get Japan on the board and I will see you over there. This is the lineup for the last battle of this game. We have 3 Japanese bombers, 2 fighters, and there are 9 infantry artillery in combination for Japan versus just 5 for America plus a tank. Let's roll this out. It's not going to last very long. We have the 3 bombers and the 2 fighters. That's 4s and 3s. Dropping in there, doing just the 2 damage. 1 bomber and 1 fighter has hit. We've put 2 Americans from over here into the Ukraine's casualty base, and we have the 9 dice now that could potentially finish off America in 1 roll. There are 5 artillery at 2s and 4 infantry at 2s. But our reds and black dice is to keep things mixed up, and I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 hits off of there. That actually does finish off America exactly. 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's America wiped. We give them their dying rolls because we're like that. They have 1 tank plus the other 5 dice, all at reds, and 2 hits off of Japan, finishing things up for form. So these 2 Japanese guys roll themselves in there along with their artillery. They put their stamp onto Western United States, and the coalition have won this game. One moment. So that is it. That's the end of the game. As you can see, everybody ends up pointing towards the middle of the board. The UK forces have taken Brazil, Germany have taken the Eastern United States, and Japan have got the Western United States. It may seem that it's very harsh on America land, having 4 forces going against them. One of the things to remember, though, in terms of the balance of this game, is America are doubled up on their amount of units and doubled up on their initial funds. Plus, when you come to the last turns of the game, anything that America build, if they still have their factories, that is, will go directly onto the coalface, whereas any of the European forces and Japanese forces, really, anything built on turn number 7 is struggling to get involved into the action. So America do have that economic advantage over everybody else. Let me turn you around to the other side of the camera and give you a few more final thoughts. That's better. Back to my handsome face. If you haven't done so already, nip back to video number 1 on the end there. There is a copy of these rules. It fits on a half a side of A4 sheet, or you can probably remember them yourself, because it's quite a simple rule, really. As I mentioned before, this game does seem harsh on America land, particularly as the coalition have won this time on the 7th turn. That did happen before on a previous version of the game, but I've tweaked the different values that America start off with, and it didn't happen the second time. But I would say throughout this playthrough, America suffered harsh dice rolls. They were going against them all over the place, not only when they were being attacked by somebody else, but their defensive rolls were horrible on certain occasions. Two times we had 15 dice rolls for American infantry, scoring no more than was it 4 hits on one of the turns through. It was horrible. America will usually give a stronger battle back, especially in their heartlands. It just didn't happen this time around. In terms of tactics, though, I haven't showed you what I think is a more premium tactic for the Americans, because I want you to play this game yourself and find that one out. It's no good being shown what to do exactly first time round. Where's the fun in knowing what to do? The rules are a framework for you to find a different way of doing things, and as such here, this is the first time I'm playing this game where I've had the 3 victory points being captured, 1 each by all the powers. Often it's been 2 powers have been more dominant for the coalition forces. So I'm still learning and developing. As I said, I think right from the start, this game was much more aggressive in its positioning than I've done before. So this game is still developing for me. If you grab these rules and try it for yourself, I'm sure you will develop some more ideas. And maybe even if you find that the coalition are winning easily, or America are defending easily, tweak that time value up or down by 8 turns to 9 turns, or down to 6 turns perhaps. That's probably going to be really tight, 6 turns, maybe 7 turns. But that's it, we're all done now. May I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There is a link to them below this video and one in the banner on the channel page. If you happen to have $1, euro, yen, yak, IPC or British pound that you can send to them, I'm sure that they would appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, be cool.